So the first theory that I have is that the stepfather did something to her. That can be anything from harming her physically and then murdering her after. That's what a lot of people do. When you see these news stories, they rape children or abuse them, and then they're kind of like forced to murder them. You can see that with, I think her name was Shania Davis. Yeah, this story really reminded me of that. And yeah, so they basically commit a crime and then they use the murder to cover it up. You know, these people are they're so evil that, you know, they don't even see how messy that really is. So I think that one of the things that could have happened was that she was dead before being reported missing, which is already a given, but I don't think that she necessarily died Friday. It could have happened prior to Friday. So between the time that the mother left Houston and I guess Friday night, an incident occurred. So this incident was one that resulted in her eventually being reported missing. Obviously, we can't say what happened, but a lot of people suspect that she is already dead. We don't want her to be, but it seems like she's gone because it seems like the whole story is just kind of made up to cover up what's actually happening. And since he is now on the run, it seems like he's now had time to get things together. He might be moving her around, things like that. So he's given himself a lot of time. I guess they haven't put a warrant out for his arrest. It seems like they just want him for questioning, but they legally can't do anything. And so they're just kind of looking for him. They can't do anything legally to get him, but they're just kind of looking for him. And obviously he's running because of the guilt and the fact that the story doesn't make sense. So Friday comes and he's already had the plan set with her needing to be reported missing, the kidnapping, and the whole story that doesn't make any sense. So I think this was prepared prior to Friday, because since the mother was scheduled to be picked up, he fabricated the story in order for everything to play out beginning on Friday. So once Friday comes, he makes himself absent on Friday because Friday is an important part of the story. It's the beginning of her being missing. So it isn't that he coincidentally was kidnapped on his way to the airport. It's that on that particular day, he needed to do what it is that he needed to do in order to cover up his tracks. So he might have been moving Maleah, cleaning things on Friday, but he had to occupy himself so that he was not where he needed to be, which was at the airport. So he then spends Saturday morning out of sight. The vehicle is spotted, and the vehicle is spotted because he is driving the vehicle. So he is driving it somewhere. I don't think there's no way to confirm that he's not driving it, so we can assume in my first theory that he's driving it. That's why it was spotted where it was. He was driving it most likely with the 2-year-old in the car, and that's why it was seen, not because it was carjacked, but because he was driving it on Saturday afternoon after he did not show up to pick up the mother. And so he likely was, doing other things to clean up his crime. And then Saturday evening comes. It's possible that he went to where he said he was in order to create an alibi. So he said he was on that particular highway by the evening, and then he walked for like 5 hours or whatever it was. and then shows up at the hospital at the end of the day, at the end of the night. So even that I don't really believe. It doesn't really matter because we know that the whole walking on the highway thing is made up anyway. But an advantage that he has is that the son is very young. He's old enough to talk and tell clues, but they might not be good enough for investigators. So he's not just going to straight snitch on his father and be like, we went here, we went there. So that was his advantage, that he could pretty much take this 2-year-old anywhere, and the 2-year-old could be anywhere, especially if he fell asleep, and he could do everything that he needed to do without even having to put the 2-year-old in the care of someone else. So the other theory that I have is that there were 3 bad hombres, like he wants to put out there, that there were additional people who were involved, and they helped to stage something that looks like a crime, something that looks like a kidnapping and a hijacking. So obviously whether it was 1, 2, or 3 or more, he put other people up to, I guess, kind of like ambushing the car. He wouldn't have had to stage the actual ambush because obviously other people could see it, intervene, and then stop the whole plot. And he wouldn't have needed Maleah to believe that they were being ambushed, because Maleah would not be questioned later, so it wouldn't matter if the scenario seemed realistic when it happened. So he gets these people to hit him in the head to create this injury, to move them into a different vehicle, and have the other vehicle moved to somewhere else. Now, what these people also would have been able to do besides create a realistic injury, well, according to him, what he considers a realistic injury, is to transport Maleah. So whether she was taken alive or taken not alive, he would have had them remove her from the vehicle so that the 2-year-old or 1-year-old, I keep seeing different ages, he would have been convinced that someone else took Maleah. So that would have taken care of that. But I honestly don't believe in the second theory. It's just another scenario that is possible, that he basically contracted other people to come and help him remove the child, and also help set up the situation so that he has some sort of alibi. Her body language comes off as somebody who is not really hurting. It's kind of somebody who is not really feeling.
I'm terrified for Maleah. My spirit is so broken. I feel so lost. I can't concentrate. I can't focus. It's so overwhelming for me. It doesn't seem real. I can't. I'm overwhelmed. I can't.
Thank you. Is there anything you would like to say, or?
I don't know. I'm so overwhelmed also. I mean, I will tell you, she's a very brave little girl. Being that is this on?
Yeah.
Okay, being that the surgery she's had, she is strong. And I know if she's listening to this, I want you to know that Nana loves you. And I promise to take you to Lake Charles. And I still want to do that.
I don't believe that she attached properly to this child, and that's why I think that she was involved. And I also observed the grandmother's body language. I can't say anything about anybody's character, but she seemed to be very cold from what I saw. And I'm really only basing that off of experience and what I've witnessed from people personally. So I'm kind of seeing like this whole family dynamic. I'm seeing dysfunction just based on body language. It's all speculative, but that's just what I'm seeing with that mother. I had already speculated and pretty much assumed as soon as the girl was missing and found out that the girl was in the care of a stepfather when she became missing, that there was a sexual abuse component to it. We've seen this so many times in the news that you basically, when you see a girl child especially go missing or murdered, you pretty much know that she was being molested or raped. I had made that assumption before, but really you couldn't say anything about the mother's character because she really hadn't done anything until now. Now she's saying that there were signs that she has reason to believe that Maleah has been abused, and I find that really, really sick because if you really even slightly suspect that the man that you're with is molesting your daughter, you're allowing him to have access to your daughter at any given time. It's not her biological father. He's not a man of great character. He's removing her from daycare. She's at home when he says that she's another place. That is really, really sick to first of all have this person in her life, and then also to fly to Massachusetts after breaking up with him and then leaving the daughter in his care. You know, there's no way that anybody, if they saw that money was missing from their purse and they had every indication to believe that the person that they live with was taking money out of their purse, that they would leave that purse with cash in it for them to go and steal it while they're gone. Nobody would ever do that. Nobody would ever do that. She's crying on the news with a community activist, and she's stating that all these clues are coming now. She needs to speak out about the abuse, and this is what she went through, and she's a victim and everything like that. But it's like, but why did you leave your daughter with him? That makes no sense. Like, you physically left. You didn't go to work, which is bad enough. You didn't go out of town. You literally flew out to another state. So basically, it seems like when the images were released, I don't know if it was before or after, but I think as she started to realize that he definitely killed her, we see images of him with the garbage bag. She's like, let me get all this information out so that I can be a victim. I have nothing to do with this. He's guilty. Initially, when the news broke, he was her husband, and then he was her fiance, and then all of a sudden he's her ex-fiance. So it's like, all of a sudden you all have to know the truth. Oh, well, actually we broke up just before I left. So you broke up for certain reasons having to do with his character, and then you leave your two precious children with him to die? We have some really good investigators on Facebook and on the internet. I don't know what people are finding as far as her father. I actually saw somewhere that she has a father that was in Louisiana with her, that her mother was married to, some man that her mother was married to, and that he had passed away years ago. So people were speculating that she did not have a dead father in Massachusetts. And so if it is found that she does not have a dead father in Massachusetts, likely what she's going to do is say that that's like somebody who's like a dad, her stepfather. I think that she's probably going to maintain that story until and if it's found out to be a lie.